Yeah, you do. You sound afraid. Yeah. Well, perhaps then we can think of what else you could do to keep yourself safe. Just to get through until morning at least. So while we're on the phone now, do you think you can get rid of that rope and put it outside or put it up somewhere high or where it's not so accessible? No. Okay. Well, it's in the living room now, so can you stay where you are in the bedroom? Okay. That's good to hear. Can you promise me that you won't hurt yourself for the rest of tonight, and then in the morning, or if you do feel like hurting yourself, you'll give us a call before you do anything? And we can work out where to go from there. Okay, you are sounding a little bit better, but please do give us a ring back if the thoughts or the desires to end your life come back, okay? All right, you take care of yourself. Good night. It is hard not knowing what happened, but at least you know you've done the best you can, and I mean, she promised she'd keep herself safe, and I believe her when she said she'll call back if the thoughts return.
My name is Phoenyx with the Rejuv-a-nation team, and I'm here as the mental health expert to talk to you today about suicide prevention. On the crisis text line, which is similar to what it is that you just witnessed, just via text, we are taught the same procedure. At this point, what you're looking at is a representative who's already spoken to this person about taking their life. She's talking to them at this point about a rope. So she's already gone through necessary steps to examine where their environment is and what they have available to them. And it's something that we're also taught on the text line to de-escalate a situation. Who's at risk for suicide? Anyone. I tell people all the time, the people that I text and that I'm communicating with on the text line, they range in age, they range in demographic, they range in geographic area, they range in economic status. These are different things that we're sometimes able to pick up on when we're communicating with these people. In the year 2020, there was a suicide death every 11 minutes. And the largest range of age that's affected by suicide ranges from 10 to 34. It's a broad range. It can happen to anyone. It could be a thought that crosses someone's mind at any time. And so this is what we're taught, to recognize these different signs. What I'm going to talk to you about today, there's a lot of different things that I could speak on related to suicide prevention. The question that we asked on Wednesday was whether or not you felt like it was appropriate to speak to your friends about suicide, if you thought that they were acting unusually, or if their behavior lent you to believe or to think that maybe they were in danger of harming themselves. And the correct answer to that is that it is appropriate. It's not only appropriate, it's encouraged. It is something that most people feel is a common myth, that if you ask the question, that you're putting an idea in someone's head, or that you may be encouraging someone, or they then are thinking of something that they weren't thinking of before. And what studies have shown is that the conversation actually reduces the chances of a person considering or having thoughts of suicidal ideation. So I'm going to talk to you today about just different ways that you can approach friends and how to approach or breach that conversation. You can find these on the NAMI site, and NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They have a site that says how to ask someone about suicide. I'll just go through a couple of tips. Later on today at 3:30, I'll also be going live to discuss this a little further. If you are experiencing this personally, if you are experiencing this with friends, or if you're just wanting more information, then join us on the call. So some of the tips that they mentioned: know your resources. So in light of that, I will have resources at the end of this video that you can reference. So it's something that you can, I know that I mentioned NAMI already, and I mentioned the crisis text line, but I'll have those sites specifically. But know those resources and have them available just in case the person that you're speaking to may need help, and maybe they want to speak to someone or don't feel comfortable with speaking to you because you are someone that's so close to them. Creating that safe space. So provide a space that is safe and that you can really legitimately have the conversation. So, not out, or maybe if you have to take this person to the side, or maybe invite them out, to lunch or for coffee, but somewhere where it's quiet, where you can really talk to the person and where they can share with you without feeling like they're being watched or making it uncomfortable for both of you, right? And speaking of that, it will be uncomfortable. When they first trained us for the crisis text line, this was something that they reiterated over and over again, not only the discomfort of it, but that it was required. We have to ask everyone that comes through the line whether or not they have thought about taking their life. It's not something that we kind of guess, or we look at the dialogue and we think, no, this person doesn't sound like they're going to commit suicide. As I mentioned, this is something that can come in with anyone and present itself at any time. So we can't make that determination. The best way to know for sure is to ask. So that's why we're having this conversation. Just ask. The worst that can happen is you feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe your friend feels a little uncomfortable. But then if they really had been thinking about it, maybe they need someone to talk to, so you're there for them. And so you have prevented that. It's a win-win situation. It's just the discomfort that you have to deal with within that process. Active listening, that should go without saying. So you're there to listen. You're there not to share your story or just to talk. Really have the time to sit there and really ask them questions and listen to what it is that they need to say. Sometimes if they have thought about it, they aren't really wanting to go through it. Maybe sometimes it's a situation where they are just wanting to talk and wanting to be heard. So that is the position that you'll play within that conversation. They have some suggestions as to how to start the sentencing. Maybe I've noticed that you've been acting strangely, or I haven't been able to get in contact with you, and I'm just wanting to make sure that you're okay. When you come from a space of love and concern, then typically they're not going to be defensive or offended when you're asking the question. But if they are defensive, pay attention to their body language, pay attention to how they're reacting. Maybe that's also an indicator. And things to consider, to look at. You know how the people who are close to you are. So it's not necessarily someone that's always sad or someone who is going through a lot. Sometimes it's people who are overly happy, or maybe they're happy all the time and not expressing feeling anger or feeling, if they're not, you would know how their baseline is, what their temperament is. So base it on that. That's why they don't necessarily have a list of, we'll look for these things. There are certain things that may be indicators, but that is the drawback of providing and talking about prevention, because there's really no sort of set standard as to what it is that can prevent someone from committing or from taking their life. I'll provide other resources. Again, join us later on today at 3:30. We'll go live. If you're wanting to maybe share an experience or to talk further through this, I'll also provide some other statistics and some other information and resources in regard to suicide prevention. But we'll be speaking on this specifically at the end of this month, the last Tuesday of this month, at our regular time at 7:45, if you're wanting to sit in with the panel of Rejuv-a-nation to discuss this further. Go in love, and thanks for joining.